lab number 5.2. In this lab, we continue our setup of our mobile-first platform. We're still working with prerequisites. The next one will be DB2, which we will use as a database for our mobile-first platform. And basically now it's time to copy the files that are required for this setup and for further setup of mobile-first platform, like application server and the platform itself, to our Ubuntu server. So for that, I will use the scp command. This one is available by default almost for every Linux installation and also for Mac. If you're using the Windows, it's available after you will set up PuTTY or whatever you will use. You can use something like WinSCP if you want to do it in a graphical way. But the idea is pretty simple. We just need to copy files. So in my case, I will copy them from a predefined folder. In my case, I copied all the required installer files in one folder. And basically the files that are needed for us is the DB2 archive, then the server archive, then the Liberty core. This one is the application server in our case. We also need the agent installer. Agent installer is the installation manager that you can get from a link provided in the description for this lab. And we also need to have the var file that should be supplied by developers. In our lab series, we are using the var file that is available through the Git repository, and the link is also in the description for this lab. So how to use scp? Basically, we need to type scp, then select the files that we would like to copy. In our case, I will use the mask with star everything. And then we need to define where we would like to copy. So basically, it's almost like SSH connection. User IBM, then the IP address. You remember you need to copy it or write it somewhere on the paper. So this is your IP address, not the one that I'm typing now. In my case, it's this one. And then double dot, and you will need to provide destination where you want to copy. I will copy it to the home folder of IBM user, just like that. And basically that's it. Then click enter and type the password of IBM user. So scp is not the fastest thing in the world. For example, if you will set up the simple FTP server, it will be much faster by default. But anyway, this is the easiest thing that does not require any setup, so we will wait a bit until everything will be copied. And just like that. So now we can actually go back to our server. Remember to specify -x with uppercase. And let's verify that we have files here. Yep, just as expected. So now we need to unpack them. So let's start with unpacking the installation manager. So command is unzip. Remember we installed this package before, and then we need to provide the name, agent installer, then -d and specify the name of the folder. So let's call it something like inst manager, just like that. So the next step for us is actually to unpack the MFP, so the server. So we'll again use unzip, then the name, -d, and let's call the folder MFP. Then we need to unpack the application server installation. Let's call it was. And the final step is unpack DB2. This is the tar gzip archive, so we will need to use tar command -xf, and then specifying the name, we'll just unpack this in this folder. So as you see, default name is server _r for DB2. That's it. Let's remove the zip packages. We don't need them anymore with rem-ref, and then specifying the mask with star and zip. So we'll remove everything with zip extension, and also with gzip extension. So now we should have only the folders and the var file that required to set up our runtime inside MobileFirst Platform. So as you remember, in this lab we will start with DB2. So basically, let's go to server R. This is our DB2 installation, and what we will need to do is to run DB2 Set Up. But before we will doing that, one hack that we will need to use in order to be able to set up DB2 on Ubuntu 14.04 is to add Symbolic Link to the file called libpamso0. So the code you can copy from the description of this lab. If you won't do that, you won't be able to run setup. So I will just pass this code to set up Symbolic Link, and we will be ready to go, just like that. So now under the sudo user, we can run db2 setup. So we will be setting our software with the root permissions, so almost under root. Basically, this is far away from best practice, but we'll be using that to minimize actually the amount of knowledge that people need to have. For example, many of those who will be doing those labs are not really familiar with Linux environment and so on, so we will minimize amount of tasks that need to be done in order to set up our product, and then basically when you will be doing the setup in real life with the experienced admins, Linux admins and so on, you will actually know how to set up additional user set permissions and so on. So as I said, we're running the db2 setup under sudo user, and basically what will happen is that, as you can see, our X session will be launching the graphical installation wizard for IBM DB2 10.5, sorry. Basically, this is how Launchpad is looking. This is not installation itself yet. You'll need to select install the product, and then select install new. And now the wizard is launched. So first step is actually to accept the license terms, and then you need to select the installation type. You will need to select custom, because by default the typical will try to install one Tivoli thing that doesn't exist in this archive. You will need to download it separately if you want to, but I just recommend for this demo setup in this lab, select custom, click next, and then select install DB2 server on this computer, so not creating the response file. And then basically inside server support you will see a thing called Tivoli SAMP. So this is automation for high availability possibilities and disaster recovery that is required. And this is the separate package that you need to download. So for now, just unselect it for our demo installation. This is the first thing. And the second thing is we would like to change the directory that will be used for this setup. The reason for that is that almost all IBM products by default for Linux installation create the folder called opt-IBM. The bad trick is that some of them creates the opt-IBM folder with IBM in uppercase and some of them in the lowercase. This is the issue sometimes, because actually in Linux it's not like in Windows. It's not a one folder, it's two separate folders, and then it can mess up. So let's do everything with uppercase. So in our case the directory will be opt-IBM with uppercase and then just db2, just like that. Basically that's it. Click next, again next, and then you will need to provide the passwords for the users. Let's use the default ones, so the users will be created automatically, and use the default ones like double Q with uppercase, double Q with lowercase, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll create a DB2 instance. This will be a single partition instance, and the username that will have all the permissions will be db2 inst1. We won't be creating additional users, we won't be granting them access to create databases, or we won't be creating databases manually, because as I said, we will try to do everything as quick and as easy as possible. So again, same password. And the last user. Again, click next. Then you need to select that you don't need any notifications set up. And basically afterwards you just need to click finish. That's it. DB2 will be installed. Nothing else is needed. Everything else will happen automatically. That's it. As you can see, setup has completed successfully. We can click finish to exit from the installation wizard, and then Ctrl+D to exit from a server. And I will also use clear to clear the screen. Basically, that's it. On this step, our lab number 5.2 has finished. Thank you.